Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today via this live broadcast. I wish we were face-to-face. This will have to do. West Texas A&M University would not be at the place that it is without its dedicated faculty and staff. Each of you are committed to your students, to your disciplines, and to West Texas A&M University. That devotion is recognized and appreciated by all, by me, by the campus leadership, by your peers, and indeed by the extended community. The work that you do inside and outside of the classroom is vital to each student's experience. Your efforts contribute to preparing them for their future careers and contributions to society, which we know they will make. Over the past year, in difficult times, you have had to adapt and teach through online platforms. West Texas A&M University was ready for this online transition in many ways, but it was still challenging. I want to personally thank you for your flexibility and commitment to excellence in the face of circumstances that were trying. The investment of time in personal communications is essential in an effective learning organization, valuable beyond question. Digital pen palsmanship is the reality of excellent teaching in online environments. I've experienced it myself. It's an essential part of the workload. Appropriately and personally engaging students and helping them know themselves is one of the reasons that powerful online instruction is so time-consuming for faculty. And I'll say again, we appreciate your commitment, and I would add, the commitment of the many staff of various kinds that make online instruction effective. The Texas A&M University system has suggested returning to more normal operations after June 1 of this year. That is our goal. We are working diligently towards it. You will hear from us very soon about the various aspects of what will happen after June 1st. I am hopeful for the return to normalcy here at WT. I really am looking forward to it. With that normalcy, WT will continue to work with students to reach their full potential and their aspirations while serving our region and contributing to the university's long-range plan, WT 125, from the Panhandle to the world. Teaching is always about leadership. Teaching and leadership require two things: the ability to cast a vision and pursue it. Those things make teaching work. Whether a student and teacher communicate face-to-face or digitally, good teaching retains the acts of leadership and vision casting. The modality of the activity is important, but for the focused teacher and the curious student, effectiveness resides outside the world of modality. Faculty speak with passion about what they expect from students. The ability to construct a sentence, a concept of arithmetic that allows the application of basic mathematical laws and algebraic relationships, an ability to think clearly about an idea or concept and analyze it, and a sense of energy, maybe most importantly, a sense of energy about learning online or face-to-face. When teaching is ignited by human passion, it empowers people to change the way they think, to have a positive impact on those around them, and to see how something simple can be absolutely profound in its application. As the spring semester comes to a close, I recognize the work you've done, and I and countless others are deeply grateful. We look forward to a successful summer and a more normal return to our affairs this fall. Until then, I'll say to all of you, on, Buffaloes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Windler. You're a hard act to follow, but I'll do my best. I'm Dr. Amy Anderson, Associate Provost, and I have the responsibility and pleasure to recognize some deserving faculty. These first two slides that you're going to see, I'm not going to read all the names in the interest of time, but we have a cohort of 32 faculty who have been completing a teaching excellence project in collaboration with a grant from the National Association of System Heads and the Association of College and University Educators. This grant project focuses on teaching excellence specifically in the online environment, so I think it was really timely that this happened at the same time that we had to switch to remote teaching. So these 32 faculty members that you're going to see on these two screens have worked really hard, completing a 25-module course over the last 2 long semesters in the fall and the spring. So please congratulate them when you see them. They've been already sharing some of the things that they've learned throughout this course. If you were interested in this project last year but didn't apply, or perhaps applied but were not able to get in as our cohort was limited, please know that we've just found out yesterday there's a good chance that we'll have a second cohort this fall. So if you're interested, talk to one of your colleagues that you saw on the screen and look for details in the near future, and we'll talk about that process. I also want to say congratulations to all of these faculty, and many thanks to Dr. Brian Vizzini for facilitating that cohort throughout the modules that they completed. All right. My next pleasure is to announce those faculty members who will be tenured and promoted to associate professor beginning in the fall of 2021, and of course pending final board approval in the next week or so. They are as follows: Dr. Fasea Alamehu, Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering; Dr. Donna Byers, Associate Professor of Biology; Dr. Rahul Chauhan, Associate Professor of Management; Dr. Naruki Hiranuma, Associate Professor of Environmental Science; Dr. Eric Hoffman, Associate Professor of Economics; Dr. Robert King, Associate Professor of Marketing; Dr. John Shanks, Associate Professor of Music; Dr. Jason Yarbrough, Associate Professor of Chemistry. Congratulations to this group. The next group are those who are being promoted to the rank of full professor beginning in the fall of 2021 and pending final board approval. Those are Dr. Brock Blazer, Professor of Plant Science; Dr. Terry Bingham, Professor of Education; Mr. Stephen Crandall, Professor of Theater; Dr. Emily Kinsky, Professor of Communication; Dr. Amy Von Lintel, Professor of Art; Dr. Barbara Wang, Professor of Finance. When you see all these colleagues, please congratulate them and on their academic achievement and this milestone in their career. My final responsibility is to talk a little bit about our new faculty information system. You may have heard we will be moving away from Sedona and into a product called Interfolio, which is much more robust. I think it'll be easier to use. And so we're looking forward to that. We found last year that we really needed to have an electronic process. We'd been talking about it before, but with the move to remote everything last year, we needed to have an electronic process. We may do with one through Basecamp, but it's not robust enough for us to use all the time, so we're looking now at Interfolio. We do have a system license that makes it a little easier for regionals to adopt it, and it's a little bit less expensive for us. So there are going to be a few challenges. Anytime you move from one platform to another, there are some challenges. We are already meeting with Interfolio weekly. They've already collected the data from Sedona to transmit into the new system, so we're hoping that that goes really well. We are really excited about this because we think that it'll be a much better and much more robust process. Advantages to this system is that you won't have hard copy notebooks anymore for third year review and promotion and tenure, so that's exciting. Another really advantage of this is it's a single sign-on. So the sign-on that you use in your office to check into your computer every day is the same one that you'll use. You don't have to remember that weird Sedona sign-on anymore. Committees and administrators through the promotion and tenure process will have instant access to materials once the candidate submits them. It's easy to use. If you can upload a document, you can use Interfolio. It's really pretty easy. We will have lots of training in the coming weeks and months. So there'll be some challenges, but it's a much more robust system, and I think it's going to be a great thing for us. Also, faculty who will, every year now, our faculty evaluation process in January, in the spring, will probably also move through this process. So we'll have lots of training for everyone in the coming weeks, and it's going to be a great thing. Thank you for your attention, and we'll move to the next speaker. Have a great day.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to address some of our retirees in the Paul Engler College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences. We actually will be recognizing and celebrating 92 years of service from the three people who have most recently retired. The first is Joel Sandy Babitsky. Sandy Babitsky was a wildlife biology major at West Texas A&M University and completed a master's degree under the directions of Flavius Killebrew in 1992. He was hired in the fall of '92 for both research and teaching and retired this past December after serving 29 years at West Texas A&M University. Sandy taught courses in freshman biology programs and upper-level comparative vertebrate anatomy, limnology. One of the major responsibilities that he had was for the freshman labs. He was a lab coordinator, and in this capacity, he organized and revised all of the lab activities for our freshmen. He also worked with the GATs and trained them to teach. Despite his heavy teaching load, Sandy found time for research. He loved field work. He worked many years with Dr. Killebrew on the ecology of Kegel map turtle in the Guadalupe River in South Texas, and especially took the project over, when Dr. Killebrew became president at Texas A&M at Corpus Christi. Sandy's professional service record was outstanding. He was a great team player and always volunteered to help the department and the college. His current time is spent on his family ranch in Follett, and he's enjoying life away from WT. Our second retiree is Dr. Joe Cepeda, professor of geology. Dr. Cepeda came to WT in the fall of 1977 and retired in August 2020 after 43 years of service. He taught physical geology, historical geology, petrology, and hydrogeology and structural geology, as well as environmental impact statements course. Dr. Cepeda was always eager to provide geology students with field experiences and taught the field methods course in the Maymesters, which essentially involved journeys through the canyon lands of southeast Utah. His research interest included geology of the western U.S. and northern Mexico, in particular hydrology and landscape evolution. He published 49 articles, abstracts, and proceedings. Dr. Cepeda's interest also went beyond geology, and he published studies from the 1978 flood of the canyon and the Paladura Canyon plants that were involved. He also was heavily involved with the Panhandle Audubon Society, serving as president, participating annually in the Christmas bird counts, and this often was done during very, very cold weather. Dr. Cepeda has made a tremendous impact on many of our students. Our third retiree is Dr. Bonnie Pendleton, who is professor of entomology. Dr. Pendleton was born and grew up in Tahoma County of California, of Northern California, where her ancestors had been for 150 years. She received a bachelor's degree of arts in biological sciences with a minor in chemistry and a master of science degree in anthropology from California State University, Chico. She obtained her PhD from Texas A&M University in entomology. Dr. Pendleton taught various courses and several thousand students during the last 30 years. She taught economic entomology, weeds and weed control, and field crop entomology at West Texas A&M University. She also was advisor for the degree program of over 30 graduate students and also co-advised 30 students at Texas A&M University. Dr. Pendleton founded and coached the winning WT Entomology quiz team. She was also co-advisor to the WT Ag Ambassadors and also to the Farm and Ranch Club. Dr. Pendleton researched many ways to manage insect pests in field crops, especially sorghum, in the U.S., and she also worked with scientists in 10 African countries. Since 1997, her research proposals funded $1.5 million in individual entomology projects and $16.5 million in federal state sorghum programs. She published 140 articles in books, journals, and proceedings. She's given 218 research talks and presentations across the nation and the world. She served as the editor of the newsletter for the Association of International Agriculture and Rural Development. After retiring, after 20 years of service at WT, she is now enjoying time on her ranch in Central Texas. We miss all three of our retirees who have left behind 92 years of service. Thank you.
Good morning. We have 4 retirees from the Enrollment College of Business. The first one is Dr. Sharon Burnett. Dr. Burnett is the Edward Professor of Accounting. She's retiring at the end of the spring semester. Sharon received her undergraduate and MBA from University of Arkansas at Little Rock and her PhD in accounting from Oklahoma State University. She began her academic career at Wheeling Baptist University, and from there, she joined the Enrollment College of Business, where she was promoted to the rank of associate professor. In 2007, Dr. Burnett left WT to teach at Texas A&M Commerce and Oklahoma State University. She loved WT that she decided to come back and return to her love of teaching at WT, where she was promoted in 2017 as a professor. Dr. Burnett has taught 10 distinct accounting courses at WT. She is a certified public accountant in Texas and Arkansas. Dr. Burnett has been honored twice with the Teaching Excellence Award in 2005 and 2016. Former students noted that she is deeply concerned that students can capture challenging concepts. Her most remarkable scholarly achievement is that when she published her work, she had reached 100 citations on research grade. That was very gratifying to her. Dr. Burnett will leave a lasting impression and legacy on the Enrollment College of Business. We wish her well on her future journey and adventures. The next retiree is Dr. Karen Frisky. Dr. Frisky is the Schaefer Professor of Business Ethics, is retiring at the end of this spring semester. Dr. Frisky received her BBA and MBA from Texas A&M at College Station. Having firmly established a career in accounting at firms such as PricewaterhouseCoopers and KPMG, she returned to Texas A&M and completed her PhD in accounting. In 1994, Karen accepted a faculty position as an assistant professor of accounting at New Mexico State University. In 1996, she joined the Enrollment College of Business as an associate professor of accounting and was subsequently promoted to the rank of professor. Dr. Frisky is a Texas licensed CPA whose career has focused on taxation, auditing, gas and oil in accounting. She has published widely in this area. Dr. Frisky received numerous awards and recognitions for her exemplary teaching and scholarship. She taught popular courses for the College of Business, and she was able to teach accounting theory and petroleum accounting. I asked one of Dr. Frisky's closest friends to tell me something about Dr. Frisky, and this is what that friend told me. Karen is sweet, generous, and always polite. From my perspective, it is difficult to express my personal admirations of Dr. Frisky in few words, but what I would say is there are 4 characteristics stand out: integrity, devotion, attentions to details, and humor. We will miss Dr. Frisky's insight and guidance on complex issues, but most of all, her infectious laughter and warm collegiality. Thank you, Dr. Frisky, for everything. Our third retiree is Dr. Pulliam. Darlene is a Regent Professor and a Mckee Professor of Business. She's retiring at the end of this semester. Dr. Pulliam leaves a legacy of high accomplishment in intellectual contributions, extensive professional service, and excellence in the classroom. Dr. Pulliam received her bachelor's and MBA degree from Eastern New Mexico and her PhD in accounting from the University of North Texas. Dr. Pulliam spent 5 years at public accounting firms where she works at KPMG. In 1987, she joined the faculty at the University of Tulsa. When Dr. Pulliam joined the faculty at WT in 1989, she took over the mantle from her father in the EF department. During her tenure at WT, she was the director of the Master of Public Accounting program and the faculty advisor for the Mortar Board. Former students recall her mentorship and help in finding key summer internship were valued and appreciated. Her ability to apply and relate academic concept to the real business world was her ability to make sure that students learn how to be successful in the outside world. By extending her interactions with the students beyond the classroom, Darlene has established her legacy as a valuable advisor to students in a variety of capacities. Her oversight of the MPA program included students advising, class scheduling, and curriculum development. More importantly, Dr. Pulliam spent more hours counseling students about their accounting career aspirations and otherwise positively shaped their futures. I have little doubt that Darlene's impact on our students is beyond measures and will be simply irreplaceable. Dr. Pulliam retires as a distinguished scholar, an educator who cared deeply about her student. She remained a prolific researcher who has published numerous articles and provided leadership and guidance to her colleagues as a consistent co-author. When I asked Dr. Pulliam to reflect on her retirement at WT and the impact of her time with us, her response was typical everything about Darlene, the person and the accountants. Her response was the following: 24 years multiplied by 20 MPA graduates a year equal 480. That's her impact, mostly in the Amarillo and Canyon. Those are the accountants in the area. This is a truly significant impact that we can all aspire to. With that, I express my sincere and heartfelt congratulations to Darlene on her retirement and extend a profound gratitude for her many years of service and dedications to our college. The last one is Mrs. Upshaw. Ms. Upshaw retired early last fall. Ms. Upshaw received a Bachelor's of Science and Master of Public Accounting from West Texas A&M University. Ms. Upshaw joined the Department of Accounting and Economics and Finance as an accounting instructor in 2007. Prior to joining WT, Ms. Upshaw worked in public accounting. She has earned a number of professional accolades and certifications, CPA, CMA, and which earned her membership in the American Institute of Certified Public Accountant, the Texas Society of Certified Public Accounting, and the Institute of Management Accountants, a loss of accounting. Alice reflects that her time at WT has been very gratifying and rewarding. She recalls that she did not so much find a job at WT, the job found her to come to WT. Ms. Upshaw shares that her decisions to join the faculty university is cherished experience that rivals but does not surpass her decisions to accept John's, her husband's, proposals of marriage in 1986. That said, Ms. Upshaw also relished on the experience that she had at WT, and she enjoys living in the canyon. Thank you very much, and good luck for all our retirees. On behalf of the college and Englert College of Business and many of our students they have taught and mentored, we are very grateful for these four accounting faculty. Thank you.
Good morning. I am honored to be able to thank the 3 retirees in the College of Engineering this morning. H. Paul Hyduke first came to WT in 1976. He then went to Amarillo College and worked to develop some computer science programs there and came back to WT in 2001. He has been in 3 different colleges, and together he and Dr. Alex led the transition of the computer science program into what it is today in the College of Engineering. They have nurtured that program and develop a reputation where the graduates are some of the most sought after in the country with respect to mainframe computing. His list of courses taught is incredibly long, and most of the courses that he has taught, he developed himself. To support the computer science program, Mr. Hyduke has worked tirelessly beyond normal faculty responsibilities to ensure the functionality of our computer lab. With over 30 technical publications and presentations to his credit, and a plethora of software that he has written that's now in use, both commercially and academically. He is highly respected in his field and has strong connections in the computer science industry across the nation. Beyond this, he has been highly active for decades in engagement with K-12 schools and in advocating for STEM education, specifically for underrepresented populations in computer science. Thank you, Mr. Hyduke, for your effort and dedication to the computer science programs at West Texas A&M University. There is no better representative of who we want to be in the College of Engineering and as a university than Kim Seward. She graduated from West Texas A&M University in 1989, or I think in 1989 it would be West Texas State University, with a bachelor's degree in music education. The mathematics faculty frequently say that music majors make the best math students, and Kim was a prime example of this. Her next degree was a Master of Science in Mathematics. However, she has always repeatedly reminded us that she is a graduate and a product of the School of Music, and she continues to hold a great deal of pride in their achievements and the achievements of their students. She began her career as a teacher at WT, as a teaching assistant in mathematics while she was pursuing her master's. She continued to teach for a year post-graduation as a part-time instructor. She then went to work as an instructor of mathematics at Amarillo College and returned to WT as instructor of mathematics and director of the Mathematics Developmental Education Program in 1997. She served in this position until 2005. During this time, she became interested in online education, and as a result, she developed WT's virtual math lab. The VML expanded WT's footprint across the globe as it received accolades worldwide from entities such as Harvard University and PBS as the best online resource for assistance in mathematics. Our office received a check just last week in the mail from a recurring donor who continues to support the virtual math lab as a resource. For her efforts in the virtual math lab, Kim developed our first online courses in mathematics while also serving as one of the university's first online instructional designers in 2005 and 2006. In 2007, Kim again accepted a new position as a retention specialist in the STAR Center, which is now advising services. Soon after that, the dean of the College of Agriculture, Science, and Engineering offered her the position that she still holds today as the coordinator of the math labs, the virtual math lab, and a new math lab on the fourth floor of the classroom center. Since that time, she has turned what was a rarely used resource into the space that we have today, occupying 2 classrooms overseeing countless student workers each term, trained to offer only the best assistance to our students in mathematics courses ranging from developmental mathematics all the way through Calculus 2. Over the years of her administration participation in the math lab has consistently increased. At the height of the mathematics course enrollment each fall, the math lab serves now well over 600 students. Mrs. Seward and her army of students workers consistently serve at outreach events across campus so that all students are aware of the service they provide and the impact that it has on student performance. She has always considered her oversight of her student workers as a personal mission to prepare them for employment. Hiring students from across the university, but in particular future mathematicians, scientists, and engineers, providing career mentorship and professional guidance that has placed them in positions across the nation. We know that these student workers would want us to thank her for her mentorship and her guidance. Kim Seward has been a consistent servant throughout her career and has left us with tremendous shoes to fill. Thank you, Kim, for all that you've done for mathematics at West Texas A&M University. Mr. Kenneth Starcher earned 2 degrees from West Texas A&M University, a Bachelor of Science in Physics in 1980, and a Master of Science in Engineering Technology in 1995. Mr. Starcher has worked at the Alternative Energy Institute from 1997, when the AEI began operation, and as an outgrowth of work that began under the physics department, and then at West Texas University until AEI was closed in 2015. The main focus of Mr. Starcher's time and effort was maintenance, operation, and testing of wind turbines at the AEI Wind Test Center, operation of the Renewable Energy Demonstration Project, and coordination of all AEI wind solar data sites scattered throughout Texas and New Mexico. As an associate director of AEI, he focused on data collection, turbine testing, information dissemination, consulting, and teaching training that AEI has promoted over the last 38 years. For the last few years, Ken has served as a full-time instructor for the College of Engineering. He continues the renewable energy education that he began at AEI and adds to the engineering technology program training in maintaining renewable energy systems. Ken has advised a multitude of undergraduate and graduate capstone students in the college, as well as visiting foreign interns from Germany, France, Jordan, and Inner Mongolia. He has served as a trainer at wind energy seminars in the United States, China, Brazil, and South Africa. Mr. Starcher has had experience in installing and operating more than 85 renewable systems, including wind and solar systems, from less than 1 kilowatt up to 300 kilowatts. His knowledge and experience has benefited students for decades. We are thankful for his contributions to the engineering technology program at West Texas A&M University.
Good morning. I'm Eddie Henderson, the Dean of the College of Education and Social Sciences, and it's my pleasure to congratulate 3 outstanding faculty members in the college who are retiring. The first is Dr. Frank Good. Dr. Good joined WT in 2014 and is retiring as an Assistant Professor of Education. Since joining WT, Frank has served as the Director of the Undergraduate Special Education Program. Dr. Good has been instrumental in supporting and leading the WT-AMU Center for Learning Disabilities, which is a center of excellence for the Texas A&M University system, and supporting the Texas A&M University System Mexico Education Collaborative. Frank has generously and consistently shared his knowledge and experience throughout our community and beyond, by assisting students, parents, and families who have children with learning disabilities. Frank is well known for his wit and his compassion, and he will be missed. The second retiring faculty member in the college, Dr. Harry Houston, who retired in January, joined WT in 2000 and led our nationally recognized criminal justice program for 20 years. Dr. Houston brought his extensive experience in law enforcement to the university classroom, and Dr. Houston, known by his students as Dr. H, was much loved and respected. Harry served the university and the community in many and varied meaningful ways. He served on essentially every community in the college and the university. He served as a university faculty ombudsperson, and Harry was responsible for the development of the Education Credit Union Emergency Management and Response Laboratory, only one of 8 in the United States. Dr. Houston was recognized for his outstanding teaching by his colleagues when he was selected for the Magister Optimus Award in 2010-2011. In recognition of Dr. Houston's exemplary contributions in teaching, service, and research, he was named the Dr. Geneva Schaefer Professor of Education and Social Sciences. The third faculty member retiring in the college, Dr. Joanne Klinker. Dr. Klinker joined WT in 2018 as the first program director of our very successful doctoral program in educational leadership. Dr. Klinker has led the program with distinction, with expertise, and vision for the last 3 years. She has guided our doctoral core faculty in successfully chairing scholarly delivery committees and in the development and refinement of the doctoral committee. Additionally, and most importantly, Dr. Klinker has solely advised our first 3 cohorts of candidates, totaling 67 current doctoral candidates. Dr. Klinker will remain as a part-time faculty member until December, when we will celebrate our first graduating cohort of doctoral students. On behalf of the College of Education and Social Sciences, we sincerely thank Frank, Harry, and Joanne for their exemplary service and for their friendship. We congratulate each of them, and we wish each of them the very best. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Jessica Mallard, Dean of the Sybil B. Harrington College of Fine Arts and Humanities. And today we are here to honor 4 retirees, and between them representing 110 years of service. First, Royal Brantley. Professor Royal Brantley will retire from the university at the end of May after 38 years of service as a valued educator, colleague, mentor, performer, and director. Brantley joined the faculty full-time in 1984 and accomplished many things during his service. In 1994, Royal received an administrative appointment as head of the Department of Art, Communication, and Theater. Working with the department's faculty, he provided numerous educational experiences for hundreds of students. He was instrumental in planning and development of the Sybil B. Harrington Fine Arts Complex, where we are today. In 2010, he transitioned back to full-time teaching and director of theater, facilitating the theater's program accreditation with the National Association of Schools of Theater, making WT the first school in the A&M system to achieve NAST accreditation. Achievements in teaching earned Mr. Brantley multiple teaching and educator awards, including the prestigious Piper Professor, the A&M University System Regents Professor Award, and in 2014, he was given the Magister Optimus Award, which is the highest teaching award given at WT. Scholarly and creative pursuits generated 7 Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival Best Play Awards, and Royal was awarded a coveted directing fellowship at the prestigious Juilliard School. There are many more awards, but I want to end by saying we appreciate you, Royal, and you will be missed. Our next retiree is Dr. Trudy Hansen. Trudy retired from the Department of Communication in January after 32 years of service as an educator, colleague, mentor, friend, and storyteller. She joined the faculty in 1989 and served as the department head for the newly formed Department of Communication in 2007. She was also pivotal in the planning for the new Fine Arts Complex. Dr. Hansen was an advocate and mentor for students and faculty and worked tirelessly in her role as department head. Unless Trudy was away at a conference, there was never a time I walked through the building that she wasn't in her office. In 1990, Trudy's department head, Dr. Vardabedian, said that he was extremely impressed with her ability to take a particular task and then to follow through on it in a very systematic, thorough, and prompt manner. That prompt, systematic, and thorough manner followed her throughout her time at WT, and it was what we all loved and expected from her. One of Dr. Hansen's legacy is the way that she brought the separate areas of media communication and communication studies into a cohesive department in the new Fine Arts Complex. She had an open-door policy and always dropped whatever she was doing to visit, encourage, chat, and brainstorm solutions. Dr. Hansen's love of storytelling is well known, and her outreach with the annual Storytelling Festival impacted thousands of elementary school students, students at Kids College, and kids in the Canyon Library, as well as the college students who ran the festival. Dr. Hansen started the Communication Honor Society, Lambda Pi Eta, which has benefited a tremendous number of communication students. She also started the Communication Hall of Fame, which continues today and has helped endow multiple scholarships for our students. In terms of teaching, students loved Dr. Hansen and knew that she cared about them and wanted to help them succeed. Though her rhetorical criticism class was feared for the amount of writing it required, students always came away with great pride in their ability to write, and it was one of their favorite classes. Dr. Trudy Hansen not only made her mark on the department, but she shaped it into what it is now. She is already missed, but the foundation that she built remains. Our next retiree is Professor Connie Mckee. She's retiring from the Department of Communication at the end of May after 17 years as an educator, colleague, mentor, friend, and speech coach. Professor Mckee joined the faculty in 2003 after coaching high school speech for 14 years, and she's accomplished many things during this time. As the WT speech coach, Mckee recently hosted the UIL regional competition for the first time, which brought over 400 students to our campus. Additionally, Professor Mckee has directed multiple UIL district competitions for the past 17 years. She had very successful speech student accomplishments during this time at WT, and the speech team ranked as one of the top 20 programs in the nation for over 5 different years, and as one of the top 10 teams for several years at the AFA national competition. Internationally, Connie had one student win second place in the world in persuasive speaking at the International Forensics Association National Tournament. WT also won second place overall in Barcelona, Spain, and third place overall in Lima, Peru. In terms of service, Connie served as president of the Texas Speech Communication Association, as well as president of the West Texas Speech Association. She was a longtime faculty advisor for Alpha Chi Omega and also for Epsilon Zeta Chi Omega. In terms of teaching, Professor Mckee has won several teaching awards, including the prestigious Chancellor's Academy of Teacher Educators Award. As a student stated at an awards assembly on Tuesday, of all her courses at WT, Connie Mckee was her favorite instructor because the lessons through activities tend to stick better and provide an opportunity to interact more with students. Connie Mckee has been an asset to the department and university and will be missed. Our last retiree is Dr. Denise Scanlon. She retired as a full professor in the School of Music on May 31st, 2020, after 23 years of service as a valued educator, colleague, mentor, performer, and friend. Dr. Scanlon joined the faculty in 1998. She accomplished many things during this time. As a teacher and mentor, she devoted great energy to developing future piano teachers through her active participation in the Music Educators National Conference and the Amarillo Music Teachers Association. She initiated the effort to become an all-Steinway school and persevered for the 9 years it took the School of Music to achieve this goal. She gracefully and skillfully led conversations with Dr. Carl Johnson, himself a prominent musician and scholar, and an Amarillo native, to secure what is currently the largest scholarship endowment in the School of Music. Denise Ranks is a world-class artist on the piano. Her performance credits are legion and far-ranging. Her reputation as an adjudicator, clinician, and master teacher led to engagements to judge competitions, not only regionally, but frequently in Southeast Asia. Always a willing collaborator with her colleagues, Dr. Scanlon participated in numerous performances of chamber music. Among her most interesting contribution was a collaboration with the WT Theater Department's productions of 33 Variations, a play about Beethoven's struggle with the composition of the Diabelli Variations, which calls for a live performance of the work. Her ever-present attitude, musical talent, and commitment to her students endeared her to the entire faculty. She is admired by all and will be missed. We value all of our retirees. They will be missed, and we thank you for your 110 years of service to the university.
Good morning. My name is Dirk Nelson. I serve as Dean of the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, and today we have 2 retirees, and it's a pleasure for me to visit with you on their behalf. The first being Vicky Harton. Vicky is an instructor of nursing. She started working at WT in 2006. She retired in December of 2020 as assistant department head. Vicky was the first recipient of the Eunice King Professorship and authored a number of nursing pedagogy-based articles. Along the lines of serving as professorship for the Eunice King, she was also responsible for developing the Northwest Texas Healthcare System Dedicated Education Unit, which provides a unique clinical experience for our students. Probably the greatest example of Vicky's selflessness is the countless hours she spent preparing students for their licensing exam, which is known as the NCLEX. Vicky's efforts are largely responsible for the outstanding result of the Department of Nursing students, their graduates. When they take the NCLEX, they pass that exam over 95% of the time on their first attempt. Vicky is also responsible for being the leadership team member for the recent accreditation visit from the Commission on Collegiate Nursing Education, subsequent to which WT earned full approval from the CCNE for the maximum 10-year time frame. Vicky has been responsible for the successful education and careers of hundreds and hundreds of nurses, many of whom remain in this region, and as such, she leaves an impressive, lasting legacy. Her efforts improve the quality of health, the well-being, and the productivity of our region. Thank you, Vicky. Congratulations and all the best throughout your retirement. Our second retiree is Tommy Sweat. Tommy came to WT in 2000, and in 2004, he became the inaugural director of the Panhandle Area Health Education Center. Tommy and his colleagues, among other things, are responsible for developing health career programs for summer health camps for a number of high school students. They started an AHEC Scholars Program, and they created multiple partnerships with healthcare providers throughout the region. Tommy stated to me he is most proud of the dedicated and the professionalism of his colleagues throughout the last 17 and a half years. Tommy Sweat has a servant's heart. His work with the AHEC and his colleagues have helped students, healthcare providers, and educators improve the quality of life for literally thousands of people in the Panhandle. Congratulations, Tommy. Blessings throughout your retirement. On behalf of the College of Nursing Health Sciences, these two have been magnificent, and I can't appreciate enough their outstanding service. Thank you for your kind attention.
Good morning. I'm Angela Spalding, and I have the privilege of serving as the Vice President of Research and Compliance and Dean of the Graduate School. And I also have the privilege today of announcing faculty awards. I'll start with the college winners, and in the category of instructional responsibilities. So in the Paul Engler College of Agriculture and Natural Science, that's Dr. Ray Matlack. In the Paul and Virginia Engler College of Business, Dr. Trevor Watkins. In the College of Engineering, Preston Tyree. In the College of Education and Social Sciences, Dr. Lee Green. In the Sybil B. Harrington College of Fine Arts and Humanities, Dr. Mary Liz Brooks. And in the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, Laura Raher. For the college winners in intellectual contributions, we have in the Paul Engler College of Agriculture and Natural Science, Dr. Keshav Shrestha. In the Paul and Virginia Engler College of Business, Dr. Shalolin Lin. In the College of Engineering, Dr. Venu Unikrishnan. In the College of Education and Social Sciences, Dr. Adam Weiss. In the Sybil B. Harrington College of Fine Arts and Humanities, Dr. Andrew Reynolds. In the College of Nursing and Health Science, Zeth Collum. For the college winners in professional service. In the Paul Engler College of Agriculture and Natural Science, Dr. Nate Wolf. In the Paul and Virginia Engler College of Business, Dr. Ann Macy. In the College of Engineering, Dr. Vanitha Subaraj. In the College of Education and Social Sciences, Dr. Kenneth Denton. In the Sybil B. Harrington College of Fine Arts and Humanities, Stephen Dolezal and Dr. Benjamin Brooks. In the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, Dr. Jean Farron. Now, for the 2021 University Faculty Award winners. For instructional responsibilities, for the Instructional Responsibilities Excellence Award, Dr. Mary Liz Brooks. Dr. Brooks, an assistant professor of media communication, was cited for exceptionally high student evaluation scores and for demonstrating an engaging and energetic teaching style. In addition to her traditional courses, Dr. Brooks led 6 students in independent study courses and coached the award-winning Buffalo Advertising Competition team. Congratulations to Dr. Brooks. For the Intellectual Contributions Excellence Award, Dr. Venu Unikrishnan. Dr. Unikrishnan, an assistant professor of civil engineering, has 2 patents for simulated tissue that acts in the same way as human tissues but is silicone. His material is applicable for a variety of research and consumer applications as it mimics the mechanical properties of human skin and tissues. The material is known as biofidelic, meaning it behaves biomechanically like human tissue, but does not contain any biological material or attribute. The biofidelic material can be produced in any form or shape and can be stored at room temperature. It can even replicate the properties of different types of disease tissues, allowing the study of those properties when biological material is scarce or unavailable. Congratulations, Dr. Unikrishnan. For the Professional Service Excellent Award goes to Dr. Gene Farron. Dr. Farron is an assistant professor in the Department of Sports and Exercise Sciences. He is a key contributor on the Department Assessment Committee, the SES Scholarship and Honors Committee, Curriculum Committee, and Graduate Committee. Additionally, he served as the Search Committee Chair for the Assistant Professor in Sports and Exercise Sciences. He continued his committee appointments with the University Instructional Technology Committee, the Student Grievance Committee, Intercollegiate Athletic Council, and the Faculty Senate. In service to students, he is a committee member on 2 graduate thesis projects and was the faculty mentor for an internship. Another key component of departmental service included Dr. Farron's efforts in remote academic advising throughout the COVID-19 shutdown. Outside the university, Dr. Farron maintained active membership in 3 professional associations, as well as a reviewer for 2 professional journals. Congratulations, Dr. Farron. And our last University Faculty Award category is the Distinguished Graduate Faculty Award, and this goes to Dr. Lee Green. Dr. Green is an associate professor of education. She taught an overload in the fall and a double overload in the spring to support needs of students in her department. She held over 500 virtual conferences with students in the spring semester and willingly requests student caps to be increased for each of her classes, has exceptionally high student evaluation scores, and readily steps in to assume classes for colleagues if the needs arise. Congratulations to Dr. Green and to all of our faculty award winners.
To the best of my knowledge, we have recognized faculty this time of year for at least 25 years, but I'm not aware of us ever recognizing academic affairs staff, and so it's my privilege to go through and do this for the first time. When I think of campus leaders, people that really advance the university, advance their program, one of the people that always stands out would end up being Rebecca Bachmann. It's my privilege to recognize Rebecca Bachmann with one of our Staff Excellence Award winners, as one of our Staff Excellence Award winners. Second person to go through and recognize with this award would end up being Lisa Mitchell. At West Texas A&M University, 10% of all of our students are in the MBA program at this point in time, and there are several people that are involved in the MBA program. Misty Hobbs, Heather Wilson, several, Diarno De Armand, that are involved in advancing that program. But the person that's most tied to that program, that really shepherds students through the process, would end up being Lisa Mitchell. And it's our honor to recognize her today. Allison Rise is the third staff member that we will recognize. Whenever we got to April and last April in 2020 and dealing with registration for students, the traditional method of going through and doing NSOs was not going to work at that point in time. It was pretty clear that the pandemic was going to end up being an issue, and we weren't going to have 300 students and their parents on campus at the same time. And so Allison led an effort to go and try to figure out a way to advise students through Zoom and other virtual methods. They did an outstanding job. I've actually had several people end up going through and say that in addition to our traditional NSOs moving forward, we hope that they'll continue to go through and do some of the Zoom type of meetings because it went so well. And that really ends up being a great job done by Allison and her staff. And so Rebecca, Lisa, and Allison, we thank you so much for your service as staff members, and this will be an award that we will continue into the future. Thank you very much. When it comes to special recognition, the pandemic has brought on unique challenges. And before I recognize the people that are on the screen, I did want to at least say a few words about my predecessor in the provost position, Dr. Wade Schaefer. On one hand, Wade ended up going through and getting out right when the getting was good, right before things ended up going bad, then Wade had stepped down as provost. On the other hand, I would go through, and I have great gratitude for Wade. One of the things that he left is he left behind systems and processes that were very clear, easy to follow, and if we had emergency, we end up going through and rely on those systems and processes. And he also left behind a group that was very collegial and could work together. And so I very much thank former Provost Schaefer and a longtime friend for all that he did to go through and put us in a position to be able to go through and navigate the pandemic. When it goes to recognizing people, one of the things that I think of as an economist is that uncertainty is bad for economic growth and development. If you go through and ask an economist, what is the thing that hurts a country or a community the most? And you would go through and say, well, you're not going to have investment whenever there's uncertainty. Instability is one of the worst things you can have. If the interest rate is 3%, then I know what expected rate of return I need. I need expected rate of return on a project that's greater than 3% to invest. If it's much higher at 12%, that's fine. At least I have a target. Of course, I need an expected rate of return that's greater than 12%. So 3% or 12%, both will end up being fine when it comes to making an investment position because I have a clear target to hit on my expected rate of return. Relating that, reach out to a faculty senate during the past year. We've had a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknown throughout this process. And one of the things that we could count on with Dr. Jeffrey Babb and Dr. Ann Medlock is we're helping us work through these problems and try to create some stability in the WT environment. It's possible at this point in time whenever we have this uncertainty that things could get worse. And people in those positions could go through and end up making a bad situation very, very difficult for everyone in the university community. But that's not what Dr. Babb and Dr. Medlock have done. They've done everything they can to try to work with administration, try to work with faculty, and work with the campus community to try to advance West Texas A&M University at a time that we really needed it. I want to thank them for helping us have the stability during the year and recognize them with this Special Service Award. Next person to recognize would end up being Richard Smith. I think of my time in teaching courses, one of the things I try to do on a midterm is that no matter how things are going in the class, I don't give anyone 100% on the midterm. I go through and figure that, well, if you give someone 99, at least they have something to continue to work for when it comes to the final. So I'll always end up finding some way to go through and grade and knock them down a couple of points. That being said, as I go through and look at this past year, when we were trying to do things like organize contact tracing, trying to go through and figure out a system for testing, all the things that are related to the pandemic, the person that's been asked to do the most in a lot of ways ends up being Richard Smith. I don't think that I would give him 100% because I don't think I would give anybody 100%. But if there was one person that would deserve the 99% and be head of the class, it would be Richard Smith. I hope that we never have a pandemic again, but we're in good hands whenever we have someone like Richard Smith doing it. And Richard, on behalf of everyone in the university community, some know you and some do not, but we all appreciate everything that you've done during the last year. It's our privilege to recognize you with this special award. Thank you so much, Richard. I'm going to go through a couple of little things just to kind of close this and look at things that would be important to academic affairs. One of the things I'd like to recognize would end up being new programs, kind of where are we going to go, and then some of the challenges that we face in academic affairs. And so on the new programs front, we will add in the fall a new Master's of Public Administration. I'd like to thank Dr. Garza and Danny Roscoe for their efforts in advancing that program. We'll also add a Master's of Agriculture program. This will end up being an online option. I thank Dr. Keith and Dr. Pond for advancing that effort. In the MBA program, there'll be a new concentration in procurement. We have a lot of government entities, Pantex going into Albuquerque and Los Alamos. That's a great opportunity for us, and so I'm thrilled to go through and have this new concentration added. Thank you to Dr. Abdullah, Dr. King, Dr. Deyerman, Lisa Mitchell for moving that program forward. Something that is not a secret, but will be important for us in the future, will end up being the nursing program's expansion into Amarillo. It looks like we're on track for construction to be able to go through and move to Amarillo in the fall. Thank you to Dr. Nelson, Dr. Jeffries, and everyone in the nursing program for continuing to move that program forward. The nursing program moving to Amarillo is somewhat significant because it will end up being an additional program that kind of tests our ability to end up going through and to continue to expand additional programs into Amarillo. And so certainly hope that they find great success in that platform. Related to academics, I would also say that this year when it comes to curriculum, we at least have a little bit of curriculum coordination between computer science and computer information systems. They are collaborating in 3 or 4 courses in their core curriculum, and they're also kind of jointly seeking ABET accreditation. I think this is very significant from a university perspective. If you go through and look at our size as an institution, if we can find situations where we can combine programs across different colleges and across different departments, that will greatly expand our ability to end up going through and reach students. Trying to do things like offer courses online, trying to offer courses on campus, it's enhanced by having a partner. And so I greatly appreciate computer science and computer information systems and being separate programs, but also finding a way to collaborate. And Dr. Babb and Dr. Subaraj have done a great job in moving that forward. When it comes to some of the concerns that I would have at this point in time, this year we tried to end up doing high flex when it comes to teaching. I was never really convinced it was going to work all that great, but it was kind of the best option that we had on the table. When you're looking at July in the middle of a pandemic and what are we going to do when it comes to August classes, this idea of letting students have some options if they go to class or not, trying to record stuff through Zoom, trying to live stream through Zoom, it seemed like something that would end up being reasonable at that time. In retrospect, I think that struggled. I don't think that high flex is one. There might be some exceptions, and some faculty may want to continue some of those efforts. But in general, if you just walk around a classroom at the end of the fall semester, you'd go through in a class that used to have 30 students, you would have 2 people going to class at that point in time. The reality is, especially for undergraduate students, they need the discipline of going to class on a regular basis. And so it is at least my expectation that high flex would be used in the future by faculty that have found success with that. But in general, it's not something that the university is going to encourage moving forward. It just has not been that successful this year. It's the best that we could do under the situation, but more traditional, you're either online or you're on campus, but trying to mix the two was difficult for us this year. I've also last week talked to one of the economics faculty members, and he said, I'm a great teacher. I said, well, what makes you think you're a great teacher? He said, well, my class average has went from a normal of 70%, and now we're all the way up to 88%. So I've been doing a great job during the pandemic. And we both laughed because what's really going on is that he's not that experienced at teaching online, and has been forced to teach more classes online. And the truth is the students are ahead of him when it comes to cheating or other mechanism to raise their grades. And so when we go through and look at higher grades at this point in time, there's a pretty good chance there's a confounding variable, and that's because we put people, push them into online whenever they haven't had the full opportunity to prepare and think about the ramifications of that. And so moving forward, once again, we want to end up having people that have full opportunity to create an online class and to do it right, and not be in a situation where faculty are trying to adapt to something like a pandemic and putting in things that are very difficult to end up managing. So. Last thing that I have, at least on the academic affairs side, is that one of the university's initiative right now is to go through and end up adding endowed professorships for faculty. Most endowed professorships are going to create an annual payment when it comes to paying off the interest. It'll have an annual return of around $5,000 to $10,000 per year. And I believe between September of 2020 and the end of 2021, I know we'll add at least 16 professorships, and it's my guess that we have a very good chance to be closer to 20. One of the things that makes me real happy in adding these professorships is that I know that we'll add at least one to every college, and I also know that there's a focus on trying to go through and reach out to disciplines that don't have professorships at this time. So if you go through, we added the first one in history, and actually we're now going to add a second one in history. And we haven't announced it yet, but there'll be the first one coming for math. I'm visiting with Dean Henderson, and I believe that hopefully in the not too distant future we can add the first one in social work. And so one of the things with all the negatives of not being able to travel during this past year, one of the positives that will come out of this is that whenever there is more travel, we're at least building a long-run base where there'll be more opportunity for faculty travel and faculty research and development through these professorships. As an economist, it's hard for me to go through and give any kind of presentation and not talk a little bit about budget, so let me do that. In visiting with President Windler, one of the things that he wants to do is tie the university's merit and equity pool, at least make it correlated with our enrollment numbers. What are our enrollment expectations for the year? We have high enrollment numbers, we'll have a more robust merit and equity pool. If we don't have high enrollment numbers, it's a little bit more difficult to end up having a big merit pool. And so it does want us to go through and try to tie those things together, which seems logical to me. There are two ways on some level that we can go through and end up increasing revenue as a university. We can increase revenue through enrollment growth, or we can end up increasing revenue through increasing tuition and fees. And so we are going to increase tuition and fees over time. That's always going to happen at all universities, but it really helps if we can get the second punch and increase enrollment over time. And so with that in mind, where are we at today? If we look at least preliminary numbers for fall 2021, it's very early, right? We're only 2-3 weeks into the enrollment cycle, and we go all the way through August. But if we look at comparisons, fall 2021 and where we're at versus where we were at last year at this time, we are off pace. We're down around 13%, maybe 14% in that ballpark. So we're down significantly when you're looking at year-to-year comparisons, which is not great whenever we're looking at trying to create next year's budget. That had me pretty worried. I would go through and say, though, that those comparisons are really imperfect at this point in time. We've never been in a situation where there's so much uncertainty. As I said before, as an economist, uncertainty is not your friend, and that's the case when it comes to our own enrollment numbers. Students don't know what the fall is going to look like with any certainty, and so that tends to end up being something that lags enrollment. I've also reached out to some other universities within the Texas A&M system, and for the most part, every university is down pretty similar to our numbers. And so it's going to end up being something that we're going to slowly roll out over time. I believe that in the long run, our enrollment will be pretty close to what it was in 2020. Maybe if we could even be up a little bit. But at this point in time, our current budget and current forecast, we're down 13, 14%. That does lead to what will we do with budget then if we're down 13, 14%. I'm confident that we're still going to have some kind of merit and equity pool for the university. We weren't able to end up doing that last year. No one in the system was permitted to go through and do one last year, just based on the reality of the pandemic. This year we are going to go through and do something. It might be a little bit more modest than what I had hoped for based on those enrollment numbers, but across the board it is my expectation that we'll finalize that in the next couple of weeks. Beyond the regular merit and equity, there are at least a couple of other initiatives for academic affairs. One of the things that we will do is we're going to look to go through and at least find an area every year and see if we can focus on some equity adjustments in that area. This year, the focus area will end up being the library staff. I've worked with Shauna, and we've identified 15, 16 staff members that, in addition to regular merit, we also hope to end up doing an equity adjustment in the 5 to 10% range for several members of the library staff, and hopefully that's something that is successful, and we can continue into future years across other areas around campus. I also, realizing that we don't have a super robust budget, one of the things that I hope to do is clean up a few things. We have 4 or 5 faculty members that are not in funded positions. It's one of those things that's somewhat of ad hoc, how they end up going through and are paid from a budget perspective. They're not considered when it comes to things like merit because they're not in a formally budgeted position. And so one of my goals is to go through and take at least 3 or 4 of those positions and try to convert those into a permanently funded position. The third initiative that we have for academic affairs would end up going through and to try to take some of our part-time positions and turn them into full-time positions. I know that we have some part-time faculty that prefer to be in a part-time role, and they do an outstanding job, and we're not trying to undermine their efforts. But in general, I think when you look at things like retention, trying to help recruit, I think we're in a lot better position if we have more full-time faculty and kind of minimize our part-time, especially the time in higher education whenever most universities are looking to they continue to increase the number of part-time faculty that they have. I think that WT would like to end up being unique and be a university that's committed to as many full-time positions as we have. So when you look at unfunded positions and maybe turning part-time into full-time, I'm hoping that we can add 9 new budgeted positions this year. I don't know if the budget will allow it, but that's our hope. When you go through and talk about the importance of budget and enrollment, one of the things that I would note to people is that WT has been around 10,000 students for close to 7 years. Haven't really went down, but we haven't went up for a pretty long time. And I do think the challenge for us moving forward is to move that needle. Every 100 students is worth around $1 million. So if you could go from 10,000 students to 11,000 students, your net would end up being around $10 million. And the truth is, as a university, we can do a lot when it comes to an extra $10 million. You can enhance programs, you can enhance salaries, you can potentially end up hiring more people. It's great if we go from 10,000 to 11,000. It'd be even better if we go from 11 to 12. Where we would end up running into a problem would end up being if we go from 10,000 to 9. Just, on the one hand, you end up having the increase in revenue. Nothing sounds worse than having to deal with budget cuts and having a decrease in revenue. And so I do go through and share that, and that is our collective challenge as a university. If we want positive outcomes, We want to go through and have good merit pools. We want to end up going through and be able to enhance our programs with new resources. We do need to make a transition from that 10,000 and try to make progress towards the 11,000. I do, in my opinion, going now back to my background as an economist, I do think that there are some very positive trends in the Amarillo area that may help us. If you have an entity like Amazon coming in, they're going to add 700 jobs. That's big, and it's not just the 700 jobs that Amazon brings in. You probably are going to have a multiplier where those numbers are at least going to double and maybe triple based on suppliers and other entities that are part of the Amazon expansion, and so that's very encouraging. What gives it a little bit more credibility is that I know of a local builder that plans on adding about 500 houses in the Amarillo Canyon area, and the largest national construction company is looking to buy land in Amarillo. And if they come in, they tend to build houses at 1,000 at a time. It's the biggest in the country. And so the prospect for the future for West Texas A&M is great. To be in a position where we potentially have these new jobs, new construction, we might actually have organic population growth in the Panhandle. And that's one of the things that's always hurt WT. Much of the state has been growing for years, but the West Texas, the Panhandle population has not. There's a lot of signs that in the next 2, 3, 4 years, we're going to go through and have a fairly big increase in population. I'm hoping that will end up being great for WT. We can finally end up going through and end up having some organic growth just based on our population growing, which would be helpful. Last thing that I know on this particular thing when it comes to academic affairs, I do think that enrollment numbers are important, and one of the things that we'll do in the fall and spring is to make sure that enrollment numbers for the college, for individual programs, are shared with faculty. And part of that is because there's a lot of ways that we can end up going through and identify new programs or identify enrollment growth opportunities in existing programs. One of the ways you can do it would end up being administration finds some kind of angle and they push for a change. And that's usually the least effective of the options, in all honesty, but it is one that happens quite a bit. Another way you can go through and find an opportunity for new programs or to modify existing programs would end up being through community input. And sometimes that helps a lot. Right? You end up knowing what are going to be the jobs that are of the future and what growth areas are going to come, and you try to align academic programs and meet those. But in my experience, the most effective way to go through and end up having enrollment growth is make sure that the faculty know what's going on with their program, to make sure the faculty know what the enrollment numbers are. If they're good or bad, it doesn't necessarily make a difference, but make sure the faculty can modify curriculum based on those numbers. And so my commitment will be to make sure that you have those, and when we're doing curriculum changes or doing program changes, you can make an informed decision, because in all likelihood, it is the faculty that will advance our programs. Let me wrap up going through and at least point out a few things. One of observation is that I do believe that if I go back to the fall of 2019, before anything happened with the pandemic, and look at how the fall of 2019 unfolded, and then forecast the future as we go through and look at fall of 2021, I do believe that we're in a position fall of 2021 to end up going through and advance the universities in significant ways. There are many faculty members that had no experience when it comes to distance learning, and they've at least been exposed to that. It doesn't mean that they're going to end up going through and convert all their courses into online courses, but they now have a richer tool set that they can end up going through and advance the programs. And there are several of these innovations that have ended up coming up during the last year and a half. And so I'm optimistic that as we go to whatever this new normal will be in fall of 2021, I think we're in a great position to advance the university. Other little thought that I had as going through and closing is that in August, President Wendler and I were in this room and did a faculty staff address. And at that point in time, there was an awful lot of uncertainty. We were watching places that opened up before us, like at Notre Dame and University of North Carolina, and noticing that they were shutting down campus classes. It was an extreme amount of uncertainty, and we were just going to go through and end up trying to do our best. In that scenario, I also can end up going through and end up thinking of a few deans going through and talking to their faculty at the start of the semester saying, well, I give it a week, and then I think that we'll end up shutting down. And so there was reason to end up having concern. As we go through and now get to the end of spring 2021, I'm really proud of the university community and how we've held it together. It hasn't always been easy. There have been a lot of things that have been challenges during the year. For me personally, before classes started, the classes started on Monday, and that Sunday night before, I received pictures of students partying. And so there was a lot of discussion on that Sunday before classes ever started on Monday, and I was pretty pissed off because I can't believe that we'd be in a situation where with everything going on, and now we have students posting pictures on Facebook of them out at a party. And so in that respect, we started off pretty rough, but we did okay as we ended up going through and got into the fall. I don't think that we really hit a hard time until we got to Halloween, and students could no longer hold it in. And I think Halloween hit on a Saturday, I believe. I have evidence that there were a lot of Halloween parties because about 10 days later, we had a huge spike when it comes to positive cases across our student body. I think in one day we had 43 cases, and when it comes to things like contact tracing, I think we notified about 200 students that in a single day. And so there was at least a time when I wasn't sure we were going to go through and get through the fall semester. Luckily, the next week we had a snowstorm, and all it took was just a couple of snowdrops for me to go through and say, let's go ahead and try to cancel classes for a couple of days because we need to break at this point in time. So it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always great. We might have even limped to the finish line when it got to the fall semester, but we held it together. I think that faculty have done a great job in trying to do their best in a difficult situation. I think the staff have done a wonderful job in trying to go through and support students. Spring has went much smoother than fall, and I think that gives us some optimism of what we can expect in the future. As we go through and end up closing this year, I do want to go through and make sure that everyone knows how much President Windler, the deans, all of the academic leaders appreciate all of you at West Texas A&M University and help us navigate this difficult year. And we're very excited when we get to the fall of 2021 for what we hope will be a much better year. Thank you so much for everything.